Hi, this is Dan Pastorini, and you're listening to The Grilling Truth.
Welcome to the Grueling Truth Football Legends Show, brought to you by GridArmO, an interactive football app where you get to call what you think the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. Check out GridArmO at www.gridarmo.com. I'm your host for the Legends Show, Mike Goodpaster. I want to welcome in my co-host, Matt Andruscavage.
Thanks very much, Mike. Very excited about the show tonight.
Yeah, well, we had to call it a football legend show because, we've got a USFL legend show and an NFL legend show, and I think this man applies for both.
I would agree.
Was a legend in the NFL with the in the USFL with the Michigan Panthers and the Oakland Invaders, and then with the Minnesota Vikings, 1987. Probably had the greatest postseason any wide receivers ever had. Help me welcome to the Grueling Truth, Anthony Carter. How you doing, Anthony?
Good, yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. Let's just start from the beginning. What age did you start playing football? Who were some of your early influences?
Oh, back in 1972, I think the first time I ever played organized ball with the Wales Packers. Big Miami Dolphin fan. Back then, of course, they won, Super Bowl 17-0 team. So everybody down in South Florida was a big Dolphin fan back then.
All right, Matt.
Tell me a little bit about your high school career and what led you to choose Michigan.
We have some pretty good teams. Basically, born and raised in Florida, never been out of the state of Florida. I originally signed with Florida State and unfortunately changed my mind at the last minute and just wanted to get away. And, Michigan with the great helmets and going to the Rose Bowl and an opportunity to play in the Rose Bowl.
All right, now your freshman year, 1979, I think I saw a stat where you had 17 receptions, 7 for touchdowns. I think the game that stands out for every Michigan fan, and I'm from Indiana, so I'm an Indiana fan, so you know where I'm going with this.
Right.
The 1979 Michigan-Indiana game, you want to tell the listeners a little bit about that game?
Yeah, unfortunately, the score was tied 21-21 with 6 seconds to go, and I was platooning, bringing in and out of the plays, and unfortunately, I happened to bring in the last play for John Wangler, and when I gave him the play, I told him to throw the ball to me. So it didn't matter who he was going to throw it to or whoever the play was going to throw it to me. So unfortunately, he was a good listener. He threw it to me, and we ended up scoring the winning touchdown.
What's amazing about that play was, you guys are at midfield basically, and you catch it, and there's 2 defenders coming in as time was winding down, and you're able to get past those defenders and score.
Yeah, I definitely should have been tackled. There's no question about it, but unfortunately, somehow I slipped through. God was on my side, and like I said, we ended up winning. But I think if it wasn't for L.P. Reed, right before that play, caught the ball over the middle, and then he ended up throwing it out of bounds, and Lee Corso ended up catching the ball, and they ended up, putting 2 seconds, 6 seconds back on the clock. So that if it weren't for that play, I don't think my play would have happened.
Now, when you're at Michigan, obviously the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry is still a big one. But back when you were in college, tell us a little bit about what that rivalry was like.
Like I said, growing up in Florida, I had no idea how the rivalry was between Ohio State and Michigan until I got to Michigan. And, we preparing my first game against Northwestern, and all of a sudden, Coach called us in and, started drawing up plays and started running scout team for Ohio State. And I'm like, hey, we don't play these guys to, week 11. Why are we talking about Ohio State? Why are we getting prepared for Ohio State? But that's just the way it went all 4 years. You prepared for that particular game, no matter what your upcoming game was. We always prepared for, the last game of the season against Ohio State.
All right, now you played for Bo Schembechler, legendary coach. What was your relationship with him like, and how was he to play for as a player?
No, he was a great coach, but one coach you didn't want to get in his doghouse. I've seen plenty of guys get in there, and unfortunately I was not one of those guys. So, but, we had a pretty good relationship. He had a good relationship with all his players. He cared about all his players. So, like I said, if I had to do it all over again, I would choose the University of Michigan as well, again.
Now, in 1983, you were drafted by the Dolphins, who, you're talking about, growing up liking the Dolphins. But what led you to pick the USFL over the NFL?
I having the opportunity to still stay in the state of Michigan and play in front of the Michigan fans. I thought it was a great opportunity, and opportunity that I couldn't pass up. A lot of other guys, Herschel Walker, Jim Kelly, those guys start signing with the league as well. So you just wanted to, and as far as the salaries, they wasn't having top salaries back then in the NFL as well. And USFL was, was throwing out the money, and then we started having players come over from the NFL to the USFL. So, like I said, just basically have the opportunity to stay in the state of Michigan and play in front of the Michigan fans.
All right, you get the Michigan Panthers, not just an expansion team, it's a startup league. What was your first training camp? I believe that was in Daytona Beach. What the Michigan Panthers like?
Unfortunately, I missed that.
Oh, you missed it?
I missed that. I caught him when they came back to Pontiac. Yeah, I missed it. I still hadn't signed yet.
Oh, well, I guess you can do that when you're the number one pick, though, huh?
Yeah. And no one wants to go to training camp anyway, so I missed it.
Well, in 1983, the Panthers started out looks like a 1-4 start, but you guys finished 12-6. What led to the turnaround?
I guess guys started getting familiar with one another. Everybody came from different universities, different teams and whatnot, and we decided, I guess John Corker and the defense and those guys, got their act together. Bobby got the offense together, and we made a hell of a run. And like John Corker said, we was 1-4 no more, and we won the championship. I'll never forget that quote in the locker room that he said, after the game in Denver.
Yeah, you talked about the 1983 championship game. You guys won a great game. I think it was 24-22 over the Stars, who won the next two championships. You got the game-winning pass. I think it was like 48, 49 yards. What was that experience like in that game? I know Mile High Stadium, I think there was like 50,000 people there.
Right, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, it was an audible play, and good thing I picked up the audible coming from Bobby, and got picked up a nice block from Derek at the end there, and he ended up winning, scoring the winning touchdown, which was great for the city, great for the state of Michigan.
Your coach for the Panthers was Jim Stanley. What was it like to play for Coach Stanley?
No, he was a different kind of coach, laid back, but, once he spoke, players listened, and he didn't have to say a whole lot, didn't scream a lot, but, and a lot of guys that we did have on the team came from Oklahoma State, and they, kind of prepared us for what kind of coach he was and whatnot, and like I say, once he spoke, players listened.
All right, now, 1984, after you guys win the championship halfway through the season, you get injured, miss the rest of the year. You come back in 1985, and the Panthers had merged with the Oakland Invaders. You guys ended up playing in Oakland. I mean, what were your feelings on that, being a guy that wanted to be in Michigan?
Yeah, I thought it was something that I couldn't believe that happened, and we was averaging 65,000, in the Silver Dome. Why would we have to leave to go to Oakland? But, you end up putting those two teams together. We had some outstanding players, from both teams. They end up, meeting together, and we was in the last championship game against the Stars, which we ended up losing that game. But it was a tough pill to swallow because, like I said, I did sign with Michigan and stay in the state of Michigan and play in front of the Michigan fans.
Now, even though the USFL only lasted for 3 seasons, it definitely left a lasting impression upon football fans. Talk about a little bit about some of the great players that you played with in the USFL, guys like Derek Holloway, Bobby Hebert, John Corker, some of those guys.
Yeah, we had guys that I thought could have definitely played in the NFL as well. And, Bobby and myself, we ended up playing. But, Derek, and like you said, you mentioned John Corker, those guys could have definitely played. You'd be in the right system, right place at the right time. I think that's what it was all about. But like I said, I Ken Lacey, John Williams, there's no doubt about it. Those guys could have played in the National Football League.
Yeah, so looking back at it, you passed up playing for your childhood team, the Dolphins, to go to where you were comfortable in Michigan. Are you glad now that you picked the USFL over the NFL still?
Well, yeah, I don't think I'd have won in the 12th round anyway if I'd have stayed and waited for the NFL. I think I'd have won a little lower than that. But unfortunately, I was already signed with the Michigan Panthers, and the Dolphins drafted me in the 12th round anyway. And once that league folded, I got a call and said, "How would you like to play for the Lions?" I said, "Fine, I got a house here, no problem, blah, blah, blah." Next thing I know, the next day I'm traded to Minnesota Vikings. So, but it would have been great to, play in front of the home fans here in South Florida. But unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Well, after you got to the Vikings, talk about what your relationship with Coach Burns was like.
Oh, Coach Burns was a Michigan grad. He was a great coach. He was the offensive coordinator through the 4 Super Bowls that the Vikings did not win, but he knew football. He knew how to get players open, knew how to put us in the right situation, and he was a great coach, not just an offensive coach, but a great head coach.
Yeah, and you get to 1987, you had the strike year. You guys went 8-7. A lot of that reason the record was like that was because of the so-called scab players. What do you remember about the strike year leading up to the playoffs?
Just everybody getting together, sticking together, working out. No matter what had happened, we didn't know what was going to happen. And I think if it was not for us guys sticking together, I don't think we would have went as far as we did once we got back to work and ended up losing to the Redskins 17-10. But like I said, great chemistry, great group of guys that I played with there in Minnesota.
Well, you mentioned the playoff run. Now, Mike knows. I know Mike's been waiting to say this. Mike,
yeah, because Matt is a huge 49ers fan, Anthony, and this was my favorite game to throw at him all the time.
Right. A little bit about that playoff run. I remember the wild card game. I remember watching it. What was interesting about that game was Bobby Hebert was the quarterback of the Saints, and then you go on and have one of the greatest playoff games ever, especially by a wide receiver against the 49ers, and then the Redskins game. Tell us a little bit about your memories from that playoff run.
Well, we just, like I said, if it wasn't for us sticking together through the strike, I don't think we'd have had the team that we had. But we just ended up catching on fire, and unfortunately the Redskins put it out. But the Frisco game was a game that nobody gave us a chance after we, I think we was like 42-13 or something like that against New Orleans, which we kind of blew them out. But coming into Frisco, nobody gave us a chance, and we just wanted to go out and prove that we was a good football team. We had a great defensive team and great special team, and offense caught on fire. And unfortunately, I didn't score a touchdown in that game, but everybody else did, But it was a team effort, a team win.
Well, the thing about that game was, though, you made every big catch. Every time the Niners thought they were going to get a stop, you'd come up with like a 20, 25-yard catch. It was unbelievable. I mean, as a Niner fan, it was just one of those things where I couldn't even be mad because it was just such a great performance.
Well, don't worry, Anthony. He was mad.
That's okay.
He's still
but yeah,
mad,
just was on fire. Just was in the zone, and you hear the basketball player somebody was in the zone. I just was in the zone that day.
Yeah, if you want to talk about this game for like 20 minutes, you can, too.
That's okay.
I know Mike's been waiting.
I think the thing people forget is when you went to New Orleans, you guys were huge underdogs, too, because New Orleans, I think, was 12-3 and had the second-best record in the league that year. You beat them. You blew them out. Then you go and you manhandle San Francisco, who was 13-2. So, I mean, I think it was one of the most impressive runs ever, and I think what you did in those playoffs, I think you still hold the record for all-purpose yards for a playoff.
Yards, yeah.
Yeah, like 642 yards through 3 games, which is over 200 yards. I mean, you got to be proud of that, though.
Yeah, it's a record, but records are meant to be broken. Like the punt return to 87 yards, that's it, bringing up broken, and then the 210 yards after 9 receptions, 10 receptions, that ended up being broken too. But yeah, I still got one left.
Matt?
Oh, it is me. Okay. Sorry about that.
See, he was so flustered talking about that 87 49er ass whooping you gave him that he can't even remember.
Yeah, I had to catch my bearings and figure out what was happening. You ended up having
Bill Walsh in that
game. Exactly. You ended up having a couple more good seasons and everything, and the injuries probably weren't the best thing that you probably part of your memories. But what are some of your other favorite memories from your time in the NFL?
Just having the opportunity to play in the National Football League, fulfill a childhood dream, and unfortunately didn't get to the ultimate, didn't ever get win the ultimate. But every player don't get there, and every player don't win there. But my size, and no one gave me a chance. But I just thank the Lord for that opportunity.
Yeah, I think you were one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time. I kind of compare it to Terrell Davis. I haven't seen too many guys do it as well as you guys did. It's just the injuries shortened it. Without that, I think you're a definite Hall of Famer by the time your career was done.
Yeah, if they could put some of my USFL stats with him, but I doubt if they'll do that. But that's okay.
Right.
No, they probably won't. But, I mean, when you talk about it, your career ends before you wanted it to. You had 3 or 4 years there where you had a hard time getting on the field. When you got done with the game, did that make it harder to transition into normal life?
You know what? I couldn't watch games my first year, but other than that, I was over it, and I had the opportunity to quit on my terms anyway. So, like I said, I was just happy to be able to play professional ball for 13 years.
So, what occupies your time nowadays?
Well, actually, my youngest son has cerebral palsy, and dealing with his foundation, and try to put on a lot of tournaments and whatnot, and keep busy with that, and spend a lot of time with him.
Matt, do you have a website for the foundation?
Yeah, my wife has one, but she got all that information, man. So I'll have to call you back.
If you wanted to get that to us somehow, we would definitely be happy to post that and raise some awareness for you.
Yeah, her email and all that. Yeah, I'll give you guys a call back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just you got my home phone number. But Anthony, Matt, do you have any final questions?
Not really. Just great admiration for your play. I remember watching you, not just the 49er game, but other games as well. And you were a lot of fun to watch. You're a great player, and we really appreciate you being on today.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot, Anthony.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Make sure you check us out on thegrillingtruth.net. You can check out the interview I did earlier today with Jim Scow, 9.5 sacks during the 1988 Cincinnati Bengals season. I'm halfway to my goal of having the entire team on my show at one point.
Not bad.
Later tonight, we will have the Gridiron Mo Super Bowl Trivia Show, so you can check that out on thegrillingtruth.net when it's up. That'll be me and Matt facing off again with Eris Presidius from Gridiron Mo asking the questions. We will have a contestant on also. They never do very well, though, when they're playing against me and Matt. But so make sure you check out everything. Make sure you check out all the CFL coverage, all the articles. Matt, any final words?
Another player that I remember a big part of my childhood. My brother was more into the Vikings than I was, but I always liked Anthony Carter, Chris Carter, Herschel Walker. It was a good team, and just another guy that it's still amazing to hear just to talk to him. Just a great player that I remember from my childhood. Man, even though my team lost because of that amazing performance, still it's always great to talk to. Truly a legend.
All right. Also, I want to bring up the fact that if anybody's interested in writing for the Grueling Truth or maybe doing a show, if you have any experience with that, even if you don't, we will be more than happy to talk to you guys. So make sure you hit up our email at thegruelingtruth@gmail.com or hit us up on @gruelingtruth on Twitter. Make sure you follow us there. We also have a Facebook page you can check out. So I think we're done for tonight, so we'll be back with another Legend Show next week. Don't have a guest yet, but we will.
That's right. Never know what'll happen.
And hopefully we can get another 1987 Minnesota Viking that would like to talk more in depth about the beating they gave the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I know that'll make you happy.
Oh, yeah, it does. I love it, actually. But, all right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Make sure you check us out on all of our shows through the week. Also, make sure you check out Out of Left Field with Graham McCown and Chris Fury. That'll be up either Friday night or Saturday morning. I think they do a great job on that. Also, we've got an interesting show with Joshua Newman, who will be starting the Greatest Show on Grass, which is going to be a weekly Los Angeles Rams show. And I believe this week you'll be able to listen to it on Friday. And former great Kenny Washington, one of the first African-American players in NFL history, his grandson will be on to discuss his discuss his grandfather's career. You won't want to miss that. And also, former legendary Ram Eddie Metter will be on next week with Joshua Newman on the Greatest Show on Grass. So make sure you check that out also. So for Matt Andruscavage, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.